You're too meek to matter, Alice. Her dad once snapped, a coder lost in shadows, blind to the havoc one truth would unleash. That tense night, she flashed damning files on the screen, her heart racing as the room froze. Soon, black drones buzzed outside, their hum promising a reckoning she couldn't dodge. Hello everyone. Welcome to Narrative Whispers. Today I'm going to tell you another heartwarming story, so let's dive into it. Alice Smith's fingers danced over the keyboard as she worked late into the night at Novatech Industries. The low hum of fluorescent lights, the soft clacking of keys, and the distant murmur of the city outside formed a familiar, almost comforting symphony. To anyone watching, she was simply a dedicated junior programmer, quietly contributing to the company's projects. Yet beneath this unassuming exterior lay the secret life of the Phantom, a celebrated figure in digital security who had, over the past 5 years, built an unbreakable reputation as the guardian of digital fortresses. For years, Alice had juggled 2 identities. By day, she attended meetings, wrote code, and solved routine technical problems. By night, she transformed into a masked vigilante of cyberspace, deploying innovative protection systems that shielded sensitive data from cyber threats. Her dual life was a careful balance, one that required precision, unwavering dedication, and a deep passion for justice in the digital realm. Despite her growing renown as the Phantom, Alice remained modest about her accomplishments, preferring the quiet satisfaction of a job well done to any public accolades. One chilly autumn morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the office windows, Alice entered the bustling corridors of Novatech Industries. The chatter of colleagues, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and the rhythmic tapping of keyboards all contributed to the daily pulse of the corporate world. She exchanged warm smiles with her coworkers, each interaction infused with genuine kindness. "Morning, Alice! Big day ahead, huh?" greeted Mark, a fellow developer known for his quick wit and friendly banter. Alice smiled, replying, "Always, Mark, ready to tackle whatever the day throws at us." Though her heart occasionally beat faster when she recalled her secret exploits as the Phantom, she focused on her present task, blending into the routine of the corporate grind. However, change was in the air. Novatech Industries was undergoing a transformation, and with it, a shift in leadership that many found unsettling. Richard Thorne, the newly appointed CEO, was known for his aggressive business strategies and unyielding determination. His reputation for decisive action preceded him, and while some employees welcomed the prospect of bold new directions, others felt a gnawing apprehension about the potential consequences of his uncompromising approach. Alice, with her keen sense of intuition, felt a quiet tension simmering beneath the surface, a tension that would soon shatter the delicate balance of her dual existence. During a crisp mid-morning meeting in the sleek, modern conference room, Richard Thorne took his place at the head of the table. His presence was commanding, his sharp gaze scanning the room with an intensity that made everyone sit a little straighter. "I believe it's time we revisit our strategy on digital security," Richard began, his voice resonating with authority. "Innovation is the only way to stay ahead in today's competitive market." As he spoke, Alice's heart pounded. She had just spent months meticulously developing a revolutionary protection system, one that was not only ahead of its time but also the very cornerstone of her clandestine work as the Phantom. After the meeting, brimming with cautious optimism about new projects, Alice approached her supervisor with a hopeful gleam in her eyes. "Sir, I'd like to present a detailed proposal for a new security protocol that could significantly enhance our defenses. It's something I believe can make a real difference," she said, her voice steady despite the inner turmoil. Richard, however, waved off her suggestion with a dismissive tone. "Alice, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, we're moving in a different direction. Let's focus on the current agenda," he replied curtly, leaving her proposal and her dreams lying in tatters on his desk. That afternoon, in a quiet corner of the office, Alice confided in her closest friend and confidant, Nina. "I can't believe he dismissed my proposal just like that," Alice murmured, frustration lacing her words. "I poured my heart into that project. It wasn't just about code. It was about protecting what matters most." Nina's empathetic eyes met hers. "Alice, sometimes people in power don't see the vision behind passion, but you know your worth. The innovation you bring isn't something to be overlooked forever," she reassured gently. Their conversation, filled with soft yet earnest dialogue, left Alice with a renewed sense of determination even as the sting of rejection lingered. In the days that followed, Whispers and speculations began to ripple through the corridors of Novatech Industries. The dismissal of Alice's project proposal was just the beginning of a series of unexpected events that would force the company to confront uncomfortable truths about leadership and integrity. At a pivotal executive meeting scheduled to discuss a potential merger with Global Tech Solutions, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The room buzzed with the murmur of anxious voices, and the air felt thick with both hope and trepidation. The meeting took an unforeseen turn when Kenji Tanaka, the charismatic and candid CEO of Global Tech Solutions, stood up. His eyes, usually kind and measured, now shone with a blend of excitement and resolve. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kenji began, his voice carrying a tone of authority that demanded attention. "There's something we must address. In our pursuit of progress, integrity must not be compromised." He paused, glancing at a series of documents spread out before him. "I've come to learn of certain actions within Novatech Industries. Actions that not only undermine innovation but also betray the trust placed in leadership." The room fell into a heavy silence as Kenji's words sunk in. Eyes darted from one face to another, and the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. In that moment, Alice felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew, deep down, that the revelations Kenji was about to unveil were connected to the dismissal of her proposal, a decision that had set in motion a chain of events far more consequential than anyone could have imagined. "Kenji, what exactly are you suggesting?" interjected Richard, his tone laced with defensiveness. "Novatech Industries has always operated at the highest standards. Are you insinuating that there's something amiss?" His words, sharp and incredulous, filled the room with palpable tension. Kenji's response was measured yet unyielding. "I'm not insinuating, Richard. I have concrete evidence that certain decisions were influenced by personal gain rather than the company's best interests. This is about more than just strategy. It's about the ethical foundation upon which we operate." Alice's pulse quickened. She felt an internal conflict tearing at her. Her work, her secret identity, and the company's future converging in a whirlwind of uncertainty. With each word spoken in that meeting, the stakes grew higher. Her mind raced back to the countless nights spent perfecting her security systems, not for personal glory, but to safeguard the integrity of the digital world. Now, that same dedication was being called upon to expose the rot at the heart of the company. Later that evening, as the office lights dimmed and the last stragglers gathered their belongings, Alice found herself alone in her cubicle. The glow of her computer screen reflected the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. "How did it come to this?" she whispered softly to herself. The internal monologue was punctuated by a sudden, resolute determination. She knew that Richard's dismissiveness was more than just a managerial oversight. It was a symptom of a deeper problem that could jeopardize not only her work, but the company's soul. Over the next few weeks, Alice's dual lives began to intertwine in unexpected ways. By day, she meticulously coded, attended meetings, and played the role of the diligent junior programmer. By night, she donned her digital mask as the Phantom, navigating the labyrinthine networks and secure databases, quietly collecting evidence of misconduct that ran deep within Novatech Industries' upper echelons. In hushed tones to herself, she mused, "I always knew the system was flawed, but now I have the proof to expose the truth." Her investigations revealed a pattern of unethical practices orchestrated by those in power, practices that prioritized profit over people. As she dug deeper, Alice uncovered emails, memos, and financial documents that painted a grim picture of mismanagement and corruption. Every byte of data, every line of code she analyzed, reinforced her conviction that the current leadership was steering the company toward ruin. The evidence was irrefutable, and the burden of exposing it weighed heavily on her conscience. Yet, the resolve to do what was right only grew stronger. One late night, while reviewing security logs in the quiet solitude of her apartment, Alice received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was calm yet urgent. "Alice, I know who you really are," the caller said, sending a shiver down her spine. "You've been doing incredible work as the Phantom, and I believe it's time for the truth to be revealed." The conversation ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving Alice both alarmed and strangely validated. Who was this mysterious informant, and what did they hope to achieve? The question echoed in her mind long after the call ended. The following morning at the office, Alice maintained her usual composure, though an undercurrent of anxiety pulsed beneath her calm exterior. Her colleagues noted a slight change in her demeanor, a glimmer of intensity that hadn't been there before. "Everything okay, Alice?" Mark inquired casually as they walked to the coffee machine. I'm fine, she replied with a soft smile. Just a lot on my mind. But as the day progressed, the tension became palpable. Whispers of the previous night's phone call had spread quietly among a few trusted colleagues, each wondering if there was more to Alice's recent behavior than met the eye. The turning point came during another high-stakes meeting. Novatech Industries was in the process of finalizing a major merger with Global Tech Solutions, and the board was divided on the ethical implications of recent corporate decisions. The conference room, usually a place of sterile professionalism, was now charged with a raw energy that hinted at impending change. As the meeting commenced, Richard Thorne sat at the head of the table, his expression a mask of confidence. We have an opportunity to reshape our future, he declared, his tone both forceful and persuasive. But this merger must be built on a foundation of trust and transparency. Before anyone could respond, Kenji Tanaka, who had become an unexpected ally, stood once more. I must reiterate that trust is earned, not assumed, he said firmly, and recent actions have shown that some within Novatech Industries have compromised that trust for personal gain. His words hung in the air, heavy with implication, and all eyes turned to Richard. The room erupted into murmurs, and a palpable discomfort settled over the board members. This is absurd, Richard snapped, his voice rising. I have led this company to new heights, and now you're questioning my integrity? His retort was met with a mix of stunned silence and defiant murmurs. Alice, sitting near the back of the room, felt a deep knot forming in her stomach. She had known that this day would come, the day when the truth would force itself into the light. Unable to contain herself any longer, she raised her hand. If I may, she interjected softly but resolutely. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to her. For a moment, time seemed to slow as she met Richard's gaze. There's evidence, she continued, her voice steady despite the rush of adrenaline, that decisions within this company have been influenced by personal interests, and that our pursuit of innovation has been compromised by greed. A murmur of surprise ran through the room, and even Richard's confident facade wavered. What evidence? He demanded, his tone a mixture of anger and incredulity. Taking a deep breath, Alice connected her laptop to the projector. I've compiled a comprehensive report detailing the irregularities in our financial decisions, the unauthorized communications, and the deliberate suppression of innovative proposals, she explained, her eyes scanning the room to gauge the reaction of her peers. The screen displayed graphs, emails, and documents, each piece a puzzle in a larger narrative of corruption. This isn't just about one person's mismanagement. It's about a systemic failure to uphold the values that Novatech Industries was built on, she concluded. Richard's face reddened with fury as he leaned forward, his voice trembling with a mix of indignation and fear. You dare accuse me of undermining this company? Who are you to question my leadership? He barked, his tone echoing off the walls. I've built this company from the ground up, and you think you can take that away from me with your baseless accusations? His challenge was met with a chorus of murmurs, and a few of the board members exchanged looks that spoke of long-held doubts and hidden concerns. At that moment, Kenji Tanaka stepped forward, his voice calm but unwavering. Richard, the evidence is clear. We cannot ignore the facts simply because they challenge our perceptions of power, he said. In a world that is increasingly interconnected and reliant on ethical technology, transparency isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The room fell silent as his words resonated with undeniable truth. Even those who had once supported Richard now began to question the foundation of his leadership. The meeting continued in a tense, charged atmosphere, with Alice fielding questions and presenting data while Richard's protests grew increasingly desperate. This is nothing but a conspiracy, he finally shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of his indignation. I demand that this report be dismissed as a fabrication. His outburst only deepened the unease among the executives, and for the first time, the veneer of corporate stability was shattered by the raw, unfiltered revelation of unethical behavior. After the meeting, the corridors of Novatech Industries were abuzz with speculation. Whispers of a corporate coup, of a fallen CEO, and of a mysterious savior circulated among the employees. In quiet conversations at the water cooler and over lunch breaks, people expressed both relief and uncertainty. I never imagined it would come to this, Mark confided to Nina, his voice low. But maybe it's what we needed, a wake-up call to remind us that integrity matters. Nina nodded, her eyes reflecting both hope and sorrow. It's time for change, and sometimes change comes from the most unexpected places, she replied thoughtfully. As the days turned into weeks, the fallout from the explosive meeting reverberated through every level of Novatech Industries. Richard Thorne, once a figure of unwavering authority, was forced into a defensive position. A special committee was formed to investigate the claims, and employees who had long harbored doubts now found their voices. In hushed conversations in the corridors and in the dim light of office cubicles, Alice's name, long associated only with a quiet programmer, began to be spoken with reverence and cautious curiosity. I always knew there was more to her than meets the eye, one coworker remarked quietly to another, while others speculated on whether the mysterious phantom was, in fact, their humble colleague. One afternoon, as autumn's chill gave way to a brisk winter breeze, Alice found herself summoned to the CEO's office. The door opened with a soft creak, and she stepped inside, her heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and resolve. Richard, sitting behind a massive oak desk, looked weary, his earlier defiance now replaced by a haunted introspection. "Alice, please have a seat," he said, gesturing to a chair. The room was silent for a few heavy moments before he began. "I want to understand how this could have happened. How did I, someone who believed I was doing everything right, end up here?" His tone was almost contrite, a stark contrast to the arrogance he had displayed before. Alice took a measured breath, choosing her words with care. "Richard, sometimes the systems we create reflect the choices we make. It's not just about numbers or projects. It's about the values we hold dear. And when those values are compromised, the system falls apart." Her voice was gentle yet unyielding, echoing the sentiment of a person who had witnessed both the beauty and the fragility of trust. Richard's eyes, for a moment, flickered with a glimmer of remorse, but it was quickly overshadowed by defensiveness. "You think I'm the only one responsible? I was following the protocols laid out for me," he retorted, the sound of his voice echoing off the walls. Alice leaned forward, her eyes steady. "Protocols can be manipulated, Richard, and sometimes the very systems meant to protect us become tools of control when they're in the wrong hands. The evidence is clear. You've compromised the integrity of this company. It's not just a question of leadership, but of accountability." The silence that followed was profound, filled with the weight of unspoken truths and the inevitability of change. In the weeks that ensued, Novatech Industries underwent a dramatic transformation. The Special Investigation Committee, bolstered by the evidence Alice had presented, worked tirelessly to peel back layers of deceit and restore trust in the organization. Employees, once demoralized by a culture of secrecy and suppression, began to speak up, their voices resonating with the collective yearning for transparency and justice. "This is our chance to rebuild something better," said one senior technician during an informal staff meeting, her tone resolute and optimistic. Outside the boardroom and the sterile office corridors, the world of digital security was buzzing with whispers of the phantom. In underground forums and discreet conversations, cybersecurity experts hailed the mysterious figure as a hero, a guardian who had risked everything to reveal the hidden truths behind corporate facades. "The phantom isn't just a myth," one renowned blogger wrote. "It's a symbol of hope in a world where power often overshadows morality." The impact of Alice's actions extended far beyond the confines of Novatech Industries, inspiring a new generation of programmers and activists to challenge the status quo. One chilly evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and investigations, Alice found solace in a small, quiet cafe near her apartment. The warm glow of the ambient lights, the soft hum of background music, and the aroma of freshly baked pastries provided a comforting counterpoint to the turmoil of recent events. As she sipped her tea, lost in thought, a familiar voice interrupted her reverie. "I never thought I'd see the day when the quietest person in the room would change everything," said an elderly man seated at a nearby table, his eyes twinkling with admiration. Alice managed a small smile in response. "Sometimes, the smallest voices carry the strongest messages," she replied softly, her words laden with the wisdom of hard-won experience. In the following months, Novatech Industries emerged from the storm of scandal with a renewed commitment to ethical practices and transparent leadership. Richard Thorne, facing mounting pressure from shareholders, was eventually replaced by a more principled interim CEO who prioritized accountability over ambition. The fallout from the investigation served as a powerful lesson. not only for those at the helm of corporate power, but for every employee who believed that the strength of an organization lies in its adherence to core values. In a town hall meeting attended by employees from every corner of the company, a senior executive summarized the sentiment perfectly. "We have been given a second chance to do what is right. Let us build a future where innovation is driven by integrity, and success is measured by our commitment to one another." Amid this period of transformation, Alice's dual identity as the Phantom became an open secret. While she continued to work as a junior programmer during the day, her contributions to the company's renewed culture were recognized and celebrated. Colleagues, who once saw her as a quiet presence in the background, now acknowledged her with newfound respect and gratitude. "You've done more for this company than you'll ever know," Mark said one afternoon as he handed her a congratulatory note on behalf of the team. "Your courage has inspired us all." Alice's heart swelled with a mix of humility and pride, even as she remained cautious about revealing too much about her other self. One brisk winter morning, as snowflakes drifted lazily past the office windows, Alice found herself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had led her to this point. In the quiet moments before the bustle of the workday began, she recalled the countless nights spent coding in secrecy, the moments of doubt when the burden of her dual identity felt too heavy to bear, and the fierce determination that had driven her to stand up for what was right. "I've always believed that technology can be a force for good," she thought, her eyes scanning the empty corridors of her mind. "And even in the darkest moments, there's always a chance for redemption and change." The thought was both comforting and empowering, a reminder that her actions had not only exposed corruption but had also paved the way for a brighter future. As the company rebuilt itself, stories of change and transformation spread beyond the confines of Novatech Industries. Industry conferences, tech magazines, and even mainstream media began to cover the dramatic turn of events, hailing the investigative efforts as a turning point in corporate governance. In one televised interview, an industry expert remarked, "The case of Novatech Industries is a testament to the power of individual courage. When one person stands up against unethical practices, it can ripple out and transform an entire organization." The comment resonated deeply with Alice, who had long believed in the potential of technology to bring about social change. One evening, a celebratory event was organized to mark the company's renewed commitment to ethical practices and innovation. The grand hall was adorned with elegant decorations, soft lighting, and a palpable sense of hope. As employees mingled and shared their stories of resilience, Alice found herself in a quiet corner of the room, savoring a rare moment of solitude. It was then that Nina approached her, her eyes bright with excitement. "Alice, you've sparked something incredible here. Look around. Everyone's finally beginning to believe in the future again," Nina said, her voice filled with heartfelt admiration. Alice smiled gently, replying, "I didn't do it alone, Nina. It was all of us who had the courage to demand a better way." Their conversation, simple yet deeply meaningful, epitomized the collective spirit that had transformed the company. The final chapters of this tumultuous journey were marked by introspection and hope. In a candid conversation with a small group of trusted colleagues, Alice spoke about the personal cost of leading a double life. "There were moments when I felt utterly isolated," she confessed during a quiet after-hours gathering. "Maintaining two identities took a toll on me. There were nights I couldn't sleep, and days when the weight of secrecy was almost unbearable." Her colleagues listened intently, their expressions a mix of empathy and admiration. "But you persevered," one of them remarked softly. "You reminded us that sometimes the most profound change comes from the willingness to bear the burden of truth." In the wake of these revelations, the corporate landscape began to shift. Novatech Industries, once seen as just another tech company, emerged as a beacon of integrity and transparency in an industry often mired in secrecy. The transformation wasn't instantaneous, and there were still challenges to overcome, but the foundation had been laid. Board meetings now featured robust debates on ethical practices, employee input was actively sought and valued, and the culture of innovation was redefined by a shared commitment to doing what was right. "We're not perfect," a senior executive acknowledged during a subsequent town hall meeting, "but we're on the right path, and that's what matters." As the years passed, the legend of the Phantom grew, not as a myth, but as a symbol of the transformative power of integrity. In quiet moments of reflection, Alice recalled the early days when she first embraced her secret identity. The long nights, the quiet triumphs, and the constant internal battle to balance her two lives had all led to this moment, A moment where her work had not only safeguarded digital systems but had also catalyzed the revolution of accountability and ethical leadership. I used to wonder if one person could make a difference, she mused during a rare moment of introspection. And now I see that sometimes, the smallest flame can ignite the largest fire. In a final act of reconciliation with her dual identity, Alice decided it was time to share her story with the world. At a technology symposium attended by industry leaders, cybersecurity experts, and young programmers eager to follow in her footsteps, she took the stage unmasked, both literally and metaphorically. My journey, she began, her voice clear and resonant, has been one of challenges, sacrifices, and ultimately hope. I was once a quiet voice in the crowd, but I learned that every one of us has the power to stand up for what is right, even when it means risking everything. The audience was rapt, hanging on every word as she detailed her experiences, the highs and lows of maintaining two lives, and the incredible transformation that had reshaped not only Novatech Industries but also the very fabric of digital security. Her story, filled with moments of despair and triumph, resonated deeply with those who had faced similar battles in silence. You have given us a roadmap, one young programmer said after the talk, his eyes brimming with gratitude. A reminder that integrity is our most powerful tool. The exchange, simple yet profoundly moving, encapsulated the spirit of a new era, a time when technology and ethics were no longer seen as opposing forces, but as intertwined elements of a brighter future. In the quiet aftermath of the symposium, as Alice stepped out into the cool night air, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. The city lights twinkled in the distance, mirroring the countless lives she had touched with her actions. Though the journey had been fraught with challenges, the end result was a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who dared to dream of a better world. The Phantom may have once been just a name, she thought, but now it symbolizes the power of truth, courage, and the unwavering belief that one person can indeed change the course of history. And so, the legacy of the Phantom was etched into the annals of Novatech Industries, serving as a beacon for future generations. A legacy built on the foundation of integrity, transparency, and the relentless pursuit of what is right. A legacy that would forever remind the world that even in the vast, complex realm of technology, the human spirit could shine brightest when it dared to stand up for truth. Alice's journey was far from over. In the months following the transformation of Novatech Industries, she continued to work quietly, her dual life now fully integrated into the company's culture. With her identity as the Phantom no longer shrouded in mystery, she found solace in knowing that her actions had catalyzed a movement, a shift towards ethical practices that rippled through every level of the tech industry. The future is ours to shape, she would say during informal meetings, her voice imbued with quiet confidence and the wisdom born of struggle. The board of directors, inspired by the revelations and subsequent reforms, introduced a series of initiatives aimed at reinforcing ethical practices within the company. A dedicated ethics committee was established, and regular training sessions were organized to ensure that every employee understood the importance of transparency and accountability. We are not defined by our past mistakes, one of the committee members declared during an all-hands meeting, but by the steps we take today to ensure a better tomorrow. Such words resonated deeply with everyone present, marking the beginning of a new chapter where innovation was inseparable from integrity. Richard Thorne's fall from grace became a cautionary tale, a reminder that unchecked ambition and arrogance could ultimately lead to self-destruction. His departure from the company was met with a mixture of relief and regret among the employees. In hushed conversations in the break room, many acknowledged that while his tenure had been marked by remarkable achievements, it had also sown the seeds of distrust. It's a hard lesson, one senior engineer remarked quietly. But sometimes you have to lose everything to understand what truly matters. Amid these sweeping changes, the once hidden identity of the Phantom continued to inspire not just her colleagues at Novatech Industries, but the entire tech community. Conferences began to feature panels discussing the delicate balance between innovation and ethics, and academic papers were written on the impact of individual courage in the face of systemic corruption. Young programmers, many of whom had idolized the mysterious figure from afar, now had a tangible role model, a person who had risked everything to ensure that technology remained a tool for good. Late one evening, as snow gently blanketed the city and the world outside seemed to pause in a moment of silent reflection, Alice sat in her favorite corner of the office. The soft glow of her computer screen illuminated a face that bore both the scars of past battles and the serene determination of someone who had seen the light at the end of a long, dark tunnel. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to herself, her thoughts mingling with the quiet hum of the building. "A new era is upon us, and we must all play our part in creating a world where integrity isn't optional, it's essential." In that moment of quiet introspection, Alice understood that her journey, both as a programmer and as the Phantom, had transcended the boundaries of her personal struggles. It had become a clarion call for change, a call that echoed far beyond the walls of Novatech Industries and into the hearts of everyone who believed in the power of truth. And as the city slept beneath a blanket of fresh snow, the legacy of the Phantom continued to unfold, one ethical breakthrough at a time. Years later, the story of Alice Smith and her alter ego, the Phantom, would be recounted in boardrooms, tech summits, and classrooms alike. Her journey became a powerful narrative of resilience, courage, and the transformative potential of an individual who dared to challenge the status quo. The Phantom showed us that even in a world dominated by data and algorithms, a keynote speaker once declared at a major industry conference, human values and ethical leadership can be the driving forces behind true innovation. As the celebration of Novatech Industries' remarkable turnaround continued, Alice often found herself reflecting on the serendipitous twists of fate that had led her to this point. In quiet moments between meetings, or while walking through the city streets under starlit skies, she recalled the words of her dear friend Nina. "Sometimes, the most unexpected paths lead to the most profound destinations." And indeed, the journey of the Phantom was a testament to that truth, a winding, arduous road that ultimately converged on the realization that integrity, when championed with unwavering resolve, could change the world. In a final, touching moment at an industry gala honoring ethical innovation, Alice was presented with an award recognizing her contributions to digital security and corporate integrity. As she accepted the accolade with quiet humility, she addressed the audience with heartfelt sincerity. "I stand before you not as a hero, but as someone who believes in the power of truth," she said. "In our fast-paced, ever-changing world, it is our commitment to ethical values that will ensure a brighter, safer future for us all." The applause that followed was a resounding tribute to the courage it had taken to stand up for what was right, and a promise that the legacy of the Phantom would continue to inspire generations to come. Thus, in the ever-evolving tapestry of the digital age, the tale of Alice Smith, both the unassuming junior programmer and the enigmatic guardian known as the Phantom, remained a powerful reminder that even the smallest spark of integrity can ignite a revolution. And as Novatech Industries moved forward, forever changed by the events that had unfolded, its halls echoed with the silent promise of a future built on trust, transparency, and the unwavering courage of those who dared to make a difference. In the end, the story of the Phantom was not just a chronicle of corporate intrigue or digital security. It was a celebration of the human spirit. It was about finding strength in vulnerability, courage in the face of adversity, and hope in the midst of despair. For Alice, every line of code she wrote, every risk she took, and every truth she revealed was a step toward a world where technology served humanity with honor and compassion. And in that journey, she discovered that sometimes, the most powerful legacy one can leave behind is the ability to inspire change, one ethical breakthrough at a time. Thank you for listening to this story. If you like it, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next story of Narrative Whispers.